In the 1980s in America, imagine you are the police captain of a city with 1 million people. Over the years, the number of criminals has been increasing. These people have avoided arrest for a long time and are all on the wanted list. If this continues, the crime rate will likely increase and disrupt social order. Now, you have a mission from your superiors: arrest the largest number of people in the shortest amount of time. What would you do? These fugitives blend into the large crowds every day. You can possibly check everyone one by one with a wanted poster. Also, in that era, there was no advanced surveillance or facial recognition technology. Trying to catch thousands of fugitives was like finding a needle in a haystack. But there are always more solutions than problems. The law enforcement agencies at the time had a clever idea. Since actively searching for criminals was so difficult, why not let them come to you? This was the sensational Feist operation. In the 1980s US, law enforcement faced the challenge of efficiently capturing a large number of fugitives. Traditional methods were expensive and time-consuming, such as surveilling a suspect's last known address or making a direct arrest at their door. These methods often came with high risks, potentially leading to violent conflicts or standoffs. The fugitives hiding in the cities were a constant threat to public safety. Although they were unseen, they committed all kinds of crimes, seriously harming the lives of citizens. To address this problem, the U.S. Marshals Service launched a program in 1981 called the Fugitive Investigative Strike Team. Its purpose was to efficiently capture violent fugitives nationwide. These operations concentrated federal, state, and local law enforcement resources to conduct large-scale arrests of fugitives in specific areas over a short period. This was done to save unnecessary money, effort, and time. This so-called high-efficiency method was like fishing. The willing would take the bait. Think about it, fugitives are people too, and they have desires, especially when they are desperate. A sudden offer of money or other benefits can be even more attractive to them than to ordinary people. This strategy was very successful at the time. For example, some fugitives received fake package delivery notices asking them to pick up a valuable item. Others were told they had won lottery prizes ranging from $250 to $10,000. Still others were informed they had won 2 hard-to-get concert tickets, which even included a dinner for 2 and the use of a limousine. All these fugitives were caught off guard when they went to the designated locations to claim their packages or prizes. By 1985, FIFST operations had been carried out in many cities across the country with significant success. For instance, the very first FIFST operation in 1981 resulted in the arrest of 76 felony fugitives in Miami. The third operation in 1982 arrested 303 fugitives in New York. The seventh operation, conducted in 1984, was a large-scale action spanning 8 states over more than 2 months, leading to the arrest of 309 fugitives. The success of these operations demonstrated the potential of combining resources and using innovative strategies to reduce the number of wanted criminals. The story for today, Operation Flagship, was part of the FEST program. It targeted fugitives in and around Washington, D.C. As a densely populated city with a high crime rate, Washington, D.C. had a large number of outstanding arrest warrants for offenses ranging from minor violations to serious crimes. The sting operations tried in previous years were not very efficient, usually catching only 1 or 2 people at a time, which was still very time-consuming. Although they worked over time, word could get out, making fugitives more cautious. Therefore, law enforcement decided to use a new strategy: a single, large-scale sting operation to gather fugitives in a controlled environment and arrest them all at once. This would reduce risks and increase efficiency. The core idea of Operation Flagship was to lure fugitives to a central location using a seemingly legitimate and attractive event, allowing for the arrest of many targets at once. To do this, law enforcement created a fake television company called Flagship International Sports Television, or FIST for short. Coincidentally, this acronym was the same as the Fugitive Investigative Strike Team. This added a bit of irony. The team sent invitations to over 3,000 fugitives with outstanding warrants, using their last known addresses. The invitations were signed by a Mitchell D. Funnily enough, D. is one-tide spelled backward. The letters invited recipients to a brunch at the Washington Convention Center on December 15, 1985, to receive free tickets to a football game between the Washington Redskins and the Cincinnati Bengals. They also had a chance to win an all-expenses-paid trip to the Super Bowl in New Orleans. The invitations also had other hidden details. For example, the contact person's last name was Sirime, which is NARC, a slang term for an informant spelled backward, adding a touch of humor to the operation. Why was the Washington Convention Center chosen as the location? Besides its large capacity and convenient location, holding the event there made it seem more real and grand. To make the event look even more authentic, the law enforcement team decorated the convention center like a real event venue, complete with decorations, food, and entertainment. This created the atmosphere of a grand celebration held by a TV company, ensuring the fugitives wouldn't become suspicious. As expected, out of the 3,000 people invited, 167 took the bait. These fugitives were wanted for crimes like assault, robbery, and burglary. The operation involved 166 law enforcement officers from the U.S. Marshals Service, the Washington D.C. Police Department, and other agencies from Northern Virginia, Maryland, and the Eastern District of New York. To avoid being recognized by the fugitives, the Marshals Service brought in extra officers from outside the D.C. area. All personnel underwent 6 weeks of training, including 3 rehearsals, to become skilled at playing their roles. The training covered how to maintain their cover, handle unexpected situations, and conduct weapon checks without revealing their identities. It feels a bit sad for the fugitives. It was like they were in a huge murder mystery game, but all the actors were people they never wanted to see in their lives. On the day of the operation, law enforcement officers arrived at the Washington Convention Center at 5:30 a.m. to set up the scene. The center was divided into 2 main areas, a reception area and an arrest area. The reception area was set up like a real sports celebration with decorations, food, and a large screen playing highlights from a Redskins game to make it feel authentic. The arrest area was a separate, isolated hall. The officers were assigned different undercover roles, including hosts in tuxedos, cheerleaders, an MC, catering staff, mascots, and security guards. Female officers dressed as cheerleaders would check for weapons by hugging or patting people on the back, while male officers acted as hosts or security. One officer even wore a San Diego chicken mascot costume and carried a weapon, just in case. The team had a detailed emergency plan to ensure they could maintain their cover under any circumstances. To further enhance the realism, the invitation stated that fugitives would lose their chance for free tickets if they didn't bring identification. This ensured that most of them voluntarily brought information that could be used to verify their identities. Once everything was ready, the fugitives started to arrive, although the invitation said the event started at 9:00 a.m. Many arrived as early as 8:00 a.m., showing their strong interest in the free prizes. During the registration process, officers checked their IDs and compared their names against the wanted list. Each fugitive was given a color-coded name tag to identify them and their danger level. For example, confirmed winner meant a confirmed fugitive, while double winner indicated a dangerous fugitive, someone wanted for crimes like murder, robbery, or serious assault. This helped officers prioritize high-risk targets during the arrest. After registering, they were greeted by friendly staff and enjoyed a free brunch. The atmosphere was very relaxed and lively, with music, food, and entertainment that made the fugitives lower their guard. After the reception, the big screen started playing football highlights, and the prize drawing began. Prizes included season tickets for the 1986 season and the all-expenses-paid trip to the Super Bowl. Throughout the process, the officers maintained the appearance of a real event, making sure the fugitives did not suspect anything. When enough fugitives were inside, they were led in groups of 10 to 20 to the arrest area for the awards ceremony. When the MC gave the prearranged signal word, surprise, 25 heavily armed Sesame members rushed into the room, surrounding the fugitives with their weapons. Before the fugitives could react, they were handcuffed, looking completely confused. They were then taken in batches to police vans waiting outside. The entire process was fast, efficient, and happened without any violence or resistance. A total of 101 fugitives were arrested that day. They were all taken to jail instead of the football stadium they were expecting. At this point, I have to say, Americans really love their football. 2 days after the operation, the Washington Post reported on the total cost. The operation cost $22,100, which came out to about $218.80 per fugitive arrested. In comparison, the U.S. Marshals Service had calculated in 1985 that the average cost of a single arrest was typically $1,295. This was much higher than the per-person cost of this operation, which further proved the viability of this centralized arrest strategy. However, later reports showed some controversy. Although Operation Flagship was hailed as a success in law enforcement history, some of those arrested were not the intended targets. For example, a man named Lloyd Gordon was presented as a top fugitive, but he was not actually on any top wanted list. Another man, a regular citizen named Charles Watkins, was arrested by mistake. There were many similar cases. While the mass arrest reduced costs, the background checks on the fugitives were not as accurate as in individual arrests. 3 weeks later, 72 of the arrested individuals were released on parole. Many of them were wanted for only minor offenses, like failing to appear in court for a parking ticket or petty theft. Such a complex sting operation ended up only catching these minor offenders. Although the operation was cheap, the return on investment for catching people for minor crimes might not have been worth it. This led people to question whether such operations could be better used to target more serious criminals. In 1986, the FEST program was discontinued. While it was cost-effective in its execution, the choice of targets and the long-term impact needed more careful evaluation. As a milestone in U.S. law enforcement history, Operation Flagship showed how agencies could think outside the box to solve complex social problems. It provided valuable lessons for future law enforcement actions. It proved that by exploiting human weaknesses, law enforcement could arrest criminals more efficiently. This strategy has been used many times in later sting operations and has become an important part of modern law enforcement tactics. And, of course, the Feist operations became a legendary story for people to talk about.